Talking about the 48 season, y'all remember the incident of Coach Meredith taking the team off the field at the end of the game?
I vaguely remember it. I get what it was for. It seemed like, I don't know what happened. It seemed like Foley called timeout and they let them continue to play, and Bay Minette ran for a touchdown. That's what I remember. Now, whether that's right or not, I don't know.
I remember that.
But I remember that I was there at the game, and man, I thought I was just sick. They beat us, but there's a lot of memories. You can think back, and like right now, Edsel and Larry will probably leave, and they'll think of something.
Oh yeah, I'm
You
sure
know,
of that.
This was when I was in the 10th grade. We called a B team back then. It was, I guess they'd call it now a JV, junior varsity. And we played a lot, but we didn't, only time the varsity wanted us, it was like a meat grinder, you know, they just wanted to beat the stuffings out of it. And I'll never forget, we were playing Fairhope the last game of the season, so Coach Meredith told me, and I don't know how many of us, we could dress out. Man, we thought, man, that's great. We'll go to the ball game and we won't play, we'll just get there and it's over at Fairhope and we'll just have a ball on the sideline. Well, we got over there and they had 4 or 5 long benches, and the ones that were expected to substitute some sat on the first bench. Then they'd go right on down. Well, all us rinky-dinks were down on the 4th, you know, at the very end. Well, I was sitting down there and we were just having a good time. All of a sudden, somebody next to me said, "Flowers, Coach Meredith called your name." I said, "You gotta be kidding." He said, "No." I run up there and Coach Meredith says, "Go in." Well, back up a little, Vance Parks was a big guy and he could throw a ball flat-footed 70 yards.
Yeah, he would.
But if you hit him, he might throw it 50 yards when it's a 20-yard pass, you know. He had a bad night. So he called me up there and he called a play and says, "Go in." I said, "You gotta be kidding. You're desperate." So I went in and Brooks Holmes went down on a post about 18 or 20 yards and I hit him. And then the next play, David Willis cut over the middle and I missed him. So somebody tapped me on the shoulder and I went out and they started running the ball then. But I never dreamed that I would even get on the field or nothing. But I threw 2 passes and I just couldn't believe that Coach Meredith put me in.
Well, that 49 team, just looking at their scores, they were a really good team, it looked like. I think that game that you were saying was for the county championship. We lost 13-12 or something.
Yeah, so it was real close. They had a big back named, what was it, Billy Hoffman, I believe. Gosh, he was hard to bring down. They had another guy, his name was Ad Davis. I played baseball against him, and he was so fast for a white boy that he would steal second base standing up. We had a good catcher or two, and they could throw, but that guy would steal, and he would stand up. He never would slide at second base. He was just that fast, but he was good. He went to Alabama, but he blew his knee out and never did make it up there, but he was fast. Gosh.
I think you were talking about drop kicking. Did Harold Avenger also drop kick? Y'all remember if he was a drop kicker?
You know, I believe he did
I
try
believe he did.
that. But
Yeah.
I don't think he did it as much as James. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think he did the drop kick.
I'll never forget. I remember 2 or 3 people that I played with, or one of my, well, I played with both of them, was W.L. Smith and also Rex Beach. Rex was a fullback, and he graduated 2 years ahead of me, I believe. I think it was 2. But there was a feud going on between a man across the highway. He had a farm, and the Beaches had the south side, and they had a feud for some, I don't know, Edsel lived in Bon Secours, he might can tell you more, but the man was across there shooting at the house. Joe and Rex came up and he shot Rex and killed him right on the spot. And Joe was in the hospital for, gosh, I don't know how many weeks. But Mr. and Mrs. Beach was on, I talked to them later, her especially, because she knew I played with Rex a few games. And they was on the floor, and that man was just shooting the house up. We went down the next week after it was over with, and it was bullet holes all in that house. But he had a scholarship to a junior college, I think, in Mississippi, but he didn't get it. And then WL got killed in Korea.
What's the memories you have of WL? I've heard a lot of people talk about him. What's the things y'all remember about him?
He played halfback. He was a good player.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He got in the National Guard with his uncle. I think his uncle was Ira Smith, I believe. And they activated the National Guard in Foley his senior year, which was my junior year. And they activated him. They went to somewhere in Georgia, I believe. I forget what's. And then they went overseas. And the morning that he had a brother named Jimmy, and I was walking by the office that morning, and Jimmy came out and almost bumped into each other, and he was crying. And I asked him, I said, Jimmy, what's wrong? He said, well, my mother just called from home to the office to get me to answer the phone, and said WL was killed in action in Korea.
Before we came here, and I was telling him, I said, Bud, you know, I saw on the news today that Korean War ended 60 years ago. Our football was before the Korean War, because Bud and I were in the Navy during the Korean War, so expecting us to remember too much.
Y'all remember they lives.
Yes, y'all are.
This is wonderful.
I tell you.
Well, we joined the Navy in '52, and then the war ended in 53, and somebody was kidding me, said, well, they knew to give up. You and Edsel was in the Navy. I said, sure.
See, Bud and I, you graduated on May the 26th, I think it was. We joined the Navy on June the 4th. We were on our way. We didn't have any time.
You talking about two sick chickens. we were required to go to church service, the chaplain held service, and we would march in, and Edsel was about like we are now. It was 1 or 2 between Edsel and I. You know, I didn't want to cry, you know, being in the Navy, you know, big. And I looked down at Edsel, and he was about in the same shape. Then after boot camp, we came home and went over, and he went, I think, to Whidbey Island.
Yeah, I did.
And I went to Japan, and I thought I was going to catch a ship to Korea. And I went to check mail, and the guy came up to the post office window, and I thought, well, I know that guy. And I looked at him, and he didn't recognize me, and I said, Ray Eckert. He said, you know me? I said, yeah, you're from Foley. Yeah. He said, who are you? And I told him. He said, well, I'll be. He shook his hand over there. I said, are you stationed here? And he said, yeah, 2 years he'd been there. He was getting ready to transfer back to the States. So he said, where are you going? I said, I don't know, I'm waiting on transit. I'll get my orders. He said, well, when you find out, let me know. So every day they had a bulletin board there, and you'd go by, and if your name came up with orders, it'd tell you where you were going. So about the 3rd day, I looked up, and it had some crazy abbreviation. I said, that's not a ship. It had NAVOIDFAC. I thought, what in the world is that? So I run over to the post office to see Ray. And I said, Ray, I got my orders. And he said, well, where you going? I said, I don't know. He said, well, what did it say? I said, NAVOIDFAC. He started laughing like everything. I said, well, what's so funny? He said, you're going to be stationed right here on the base. I said, for 2 years? He said, yeah. Here I am, 18 years old, never been away from home, and they tell me I'm going to be there for 2 years? I said, Lord, man. The only thing I survived, well, I played baseball for the Seahawks there, and we traveled all over to Japan playing ball, but Lord, 18 years old, and they tell you you're going to be there for 2 years, and you can't come home on leave for 2 years? Whew. I survived.
Mr.